Welcome to the Green Tea Bakery. I'm your host, Christine, and in this Green Light Path series, I interview entrepreneurs, creatives, and overall ambitious people about their dreams and goals, to then interview them again in 3 years and see the progress. Stay tuned to see the journey unfold. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Green Tea Bakery. I'm your host, Christine, here, and today I'm with someone who started as an actor and developed his own very unique path. Today, he's a self-taught painter who has his own gallery here in San Miguel in Mexico. He's an example of how it's 100% possible to build your life and thrive as a full-time painter, and we'll learn all about this. So, Filippo, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Christine, for having me. Thank you so much.
I'm very excited that you're finally here, and the serendipitous of me walking into your gallery because I was there because another friend from another gallery invited me, and then reaching out to you, and then literally a few days later running into you at the art fair in Mexico City twice.
Twice.
Exactly.
I tried to meet up. I tried to meet up with so many friends during the art week in Mexico City. I couldn't meet anybody because it's difficult.
It's
the
huge.
City is huge and stuff. But eventually, I got to see you twice without organizing it. So it was meant to be.
And for context, I'm not sure how many millions of people live here, but I think it's around 20 million if I'm not mistaken. There are multiple events around the entire city, so it's huge fairs there and here and there, and they're completely far off. So exactly, very serendipitous that we were at the same place.
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
Let's just get right into it and start with a little warm-up question. What is something that brought you joy today particularly?
Well, painting sounds maybe too obvious, but I'll skip that, even if it's the biggest source of joy for me. But I would guess listening to books, also reading. I rather listen than read because I can paint while I'm listening a book. So, but learning through a book is something that I discovered late in my life. Because when I was little, there wasn't this attention to kids and people that weren't so sensitive or aware about kids learning and stuff. If I wasn't reading, it was because I was lazy. That's the only possible reason. I wasn't lazy. I wasn't disciplined. And then later on, I figured out I have dyslexia. I changed the V for the B, the P for the B. I was never thought was a thing. So my parents, they were like, he's lazy. He doesn't read. But then when they invent these audiobook things, because it's been around for a long time, and then eventually, when I find out about it, at least, it changed my life because I'm so obsessed with books right now, and it's a great source of joy, I guess.
Yeah, it opens a new world that before you thought that's very difficult. That's very that's not pleasant at all to be there. Would you feel like some books that changed your life the most or impacted you the most?
Yeah, I love the question. I would say what to say when you talk to yourself. That's the title of the book. That it can be easily the first one if you want. Of course, I listen to it maybe 7 times, maybe four times in a row, and then again, and then again, and then again. These are another things that I like to do when I found some book that really speaks to me. I'm like, okay, I gotta really get at least 99% of what it's saying, and then you grow. So then you read something else in the book. If it's a good book, you always find something more. But there are the self-help niche of books, even though there are many cliches and misunderstandings about that niche. For me, they were really self-help. They helped me a lot. They changed my life. Many authors, because again, coming from this small city in Italy, it's a port in Tuscany, growing with this mindset that is not the mindset that I like to have right now, for instance. For me, I needed to find someone else showing me there is another possibility. Then if this person maybe market him or herself in a way that you find this person selfish or just, I don't care. If the things this person is sharing, they can help me, I'm okay with that. Then even if sometimes they might be a little bit the gurus and stuff. I think we should never focus on the thing that is not helpful for us and just focus on what you really need. So those books, of course, Tony Robbins books have been great, super important for me. I did the Unleash the Power Within event with him that really changed my life, and everybody's like, yeah. And I was skeptical. I mean, I'm not like because I wasn't raised like that. I was the first who was skeptical, or what's the word for it? I wasn't really sure what I was going through. And then at the beginning of this event, people started jumping and screaming. I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. I had this limiting belief system. And then when he speaks, he shares this idea of, high energy. The higher the energy, the higher is the level of the memory, how much you internalize and memorize what you're saying. If you are in a low state, you won't really remember stuff. But if you are in a peak state, or whatever you want to call it, can be, for instance, when we go through a really bad moment in our life, you can remember everything. That time that someone told you this, you can remember the smell, the dress, the clothes you were wearing, and everything. So this was a big energy creating from a bad situation, but was a high level energy. So memory works in a way that if your energies are high, you will remember everything. So the jumping and the screaming is a way to trigger the energy and then the memory. So what he's about to share with you, you will remember. The idea is all of his books, and of course, as you said, coming from a background as an actor, I loved all these books, like Chekhov, these Russian writers, and Pinter, Shakespeare. But one of my favorite of those was the Karamazov brother of Dostoevsky, because there is one monologue in that book that is huge, that I listened also to that book. It was maybe 40 hours. I don't remember how many hours, but that book is amazing. I can talk a lot about this.
I love this. I love that you share those different parts coming from the self-help and kind of this growth and development part, but also going into like classical things. And we'll talk about this. We'll unwind your story and see how all those things come together. But honestly, something like listening to books is something I can relate so much to, because I feel like growing up for me, reading was a punishment. It's like, stop playing, go read a book, like do something. And I hated it. I hated it so much. I remember, I don't know, like first grade, I was forced to read Winnie the Pooh, and I hate this book so much because it was the biggest punishment for me to go read. And honestly, the same only later in life, I realized that actually this is fun, and actually like you can listen to things. You don't need to have it in physically. And things like that. So I feel like it's because I can really relate to this idea of uncovering the world of books later on, and realizing that, wait, actually there's so much, and there is so much for everyone, and it doesn't have to be a punishment. You don't have to read it physically, and you can do other things while you listen to it.
Especially if you do something mechanical. I can paint and read because they're two different parts of the brain. Paint and listen. It's difficult if you, for instance, if you're writing, if you're working on your webpage, when I'm working on my stuff that are words involving the work, of course, it's
too much.
It's great. But painting is fine, I guess.
For sure. Let's get into your personal story. So what context from your early life defines you the most and the person that you are today?
This is such a good question, because the thing that defines me the most right now, it's how my will of flipping my early, who I used to be. So in a way still defines me, because I'm not against it, but there is this will of, overcoming all of these limiting beliefs related to so many things. I was raised in a family, and yesterday morning, I thought I was so lucky. I had a privilege to be born in a good family. And good family doesn't mean we weren't rich. But they are good people, at the end. Especially my earliest, the first 7 years, it was really nice. Then things happened. But those 7 years, 8 years are really the most important, I guess, when you start, your brain starts developing and stuff. So, but then things changed. But I rather stay focused on that first part of my life, that I still remember everything. I have my memory really works weirdly, and but then now it's also about how I want to be the opposite sometimes of the person I used to be.
We'll get more into the details of this. But when you were a child, what was your dream? So maybe the child in those first 7, 8 years that you were saying.
Well, I used to like lots of things, but um, I was told that my passion weren't important. I don't. Maybe it happens to so many people. And I always speaks about this thing when, if I'm doing speeches or stuff, that I was in school. At school, I was 10 in art, and I was 4 in math. And of course, my parents put me do extra hours after school doing math rather than. And I think this is things that many of us have experienced. Now, instead of strength, flourish your talent. Things you like to do. You don't need to have a talent. This is a big belief for me. You don't need the talent. You just need a passion. To really love what you're doing. Talents can help, but it's not that important as people think. But instead of pursuing that path, they made us reinforce and try to fix what is not good with us, our weakness. And the result is that to put so much effort and hours extra in math, the best I could get was from 4, I went up to 6. And because I wasn't really paying attention to drawing and anything, from 10 in art, I went down to 6. So the final result, I became a 6, an average person, which is the saddest person you can be. 6 is the worst number. I hate the 6. I like better to be a 1, a 0, 3, than 6. So that was the big thing. My dream, it could have been, being a drawer, an artist for Disney. I was thinking maybe a few months ago, I express my talent, I express my passion to drawing and stuff with my parents. And then with the meditation I remember that I went to my mother and I said, I would like to be one of the artists for Disney. I was maybe 6. And she was like, she's a great person. I love my mother. But she did the best with the tools that she got. And that back then, they didn't have so many tools. They didn't have all of these, and I don't blame them. But my mother was like, okay, yes, go do your math exercise. Stop thinking about Disney and just study. But it's a little bit sad. Our generation has to do something about it. We're doing it, I guess.
To really focus on the things you're excited about and you're passionate about, and just supercharge them. Because I think it's such a good example with your 6s that you ended up having 6s everywhere. So what? Was it worth the effort of going?
Maybe it's actually volunteer. I don't want to enter in this conspiracy theory. I'm not one of these people, but maybe sometimes it's on purpose, to have all these 6 that can be your, your workers in the factory. If you're a 6, you ended up being a worker instead of being another destructive figure in the society. I don't know.
That's true. I think honestly there could be so many thoughts and so many exactly like theories about education system and how it really presses people into different molds that they're supposed to go where society needs them. And I mean, also, for example, coming from Russia, like I remember stories from my parents, like when they used to live in the Soviet Union, that once you graduate high school, you have a job. Like you are going to be a factory worker. You're going to be a seamstress. Like you are going to be this and this. So everything was planned out. So in a way, they were really, sorting kids right out there. So it wasn't passion. What is passion?
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's the same. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's beautiful that we are able to change it. But how did you then get into acting?
I became an actor because of this friend of the time. She was an actress, and I saw acting as an escape from my parents' plan to be the lawyer, whatever. So I was friend to her, and she told me, my parents they were not gonna pay for my studies as an actor. And this friend, she told me there is the best school in Italy. They give you a grant. 100 people apply every year, and they take 10. But if you're one of the 10, no, you don't have to pay, so you can do it anyway. Even if your parents don't support you. And I never acted before, and I entered. I got picked with these 10 people. It's so weird. If I think about it right now, I'm like, but maybe because I really didn't care. For one reason, I really didn't care about acting. So this is why they got me, I guess, because I got into auditions so casually. I fell asleep during the waiting. When I was waiting for my turn, I got asleep and everybody were there like so stressed out. There's one thing maybe. The other thing is the exact opposite. The other thing is that I start this ego, subconsciously, I start this ego fight against my father who told me I wasn't going to make it, that I had to make it happen. So I had the opposite feeling inside of me that I played together well, I guess. But the idea was that I'm gonna prove you wrong. That subconsciously, now I can see it. I didn't see that time. And so I didn't care. I was casual about it, but at the same time, when I went there and I was like, okay, I'm gonna give 110%. I've never acted before. It seems silly to me a little bit to pretend to be this monkey or whatever. But if I gotta do the monkey, I'm gonna do the best monkey I can do. I think I saw this determination, this fire, and I became an actor and I felt miserable. I felt miserable because I wasn't there for a passion, something that I like. I just want to prove my father wrong, and I was escaping from the plan that my parents had for me to be the lawyer again. So I was there for the wrong reason, for wrong reasons, which is I was escaping, I was fighting against someone. So I wasn't there because I liked. And then eventually everything that was created from this rotten seed that was inside of me that created everything, the fruits that were created was rotten as well because I wasn't there for the right reason. So I stayed there for 9 years, being in acting, attending the best art school and everything. Best because then, as you said before, they put you into this mold. And at the end of the years of the school, before I start touring throughout Italy with the company, we all act the same. We did speak the same. We did move the same. So we actually, it wasn't really nice. And then the environment, it's not the easiest. And if you're not there because you love it, it's really hard to face it. But there is another ego thing that was going on. Because of this fight that I have against my father, the ego makes you blind. And I wasn't looking at all these messages that life, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, was providing me. It was obvious that I wasn't supposed to be there. And all these walls that I found, this obstacle I found in my path, I just broke these walls with my head, like boom, because I was mad, I was angry, and it wasn't pleasant. I didn't have the humbleness to see that I wasn't supposed to be there. And then I met Paulina, the woman in the painting, this Mexican girl that one day she was in Italy, and for the first time I act upon this healthy place inside of me rather than being against someone, fighting someone. And I just act from love, all the action came from love. I just want to be with her. And I moved to Mexico. I quit everything. I was about to be the leading character of this movie. 1 year of planning this movie. We were about to start in November. In September, I met her and I quit. I called everybody. I said, I'm not doing the movie. I'm going to Mexico. Like a movie, but in my real life.
It was a better movie than
That was a bad
movie you were about to film.
Exactly.
No, that's amazing. So you were in this path, as you said, more out of anger, out of fighting and trying to break out of something. And then you started acting upon exactly a place of love, a place of what you actually want to do. So what was this transition then? So you're coming from, being on I guess, a very good acting path, but one that was not making you happy at all.
Yeah.
So how did you go from there to Yes, you met Polina, and she told the story of how you met. So that's actually a cool connection. So if you want to listen to the episode of her, she tells the story there.
Of course.
Yeah. So how did you come from? Okay, you're moving to Mexico, and how did painting come into it? Was it something you always subconsciously liked, like did maybe in your free time, or how did the story turn from being an actor in Italy to now you're living in Mexico and now you're painting? What was the connection there?
I'm gonna give you really the long story short. So I will skip many things that happened, but I have no idea I was gonna be a painter in my life when I moved to Mexico. I didn't know anything about Mexico. I didn't know that Paulina was actually from the best place to be a painter in the world because San Miguel de Allende is so crazy good if you want to be an artist. There is all the upside of being here in Mexico, and there are really few downsides. I mean, the downsides can be you're far away from your family, you know, from your country, from your languages, but that's all. Then it's a great country. The economy is booming. The food is great and it's cheap. There are so many collectors from US because of the proximity with US now. So you can actually price your painting in dollars, but you're living pesos. So many good things that I was blown away. But I didn't know about this stuff. I just knew I wanted to be with her. So we tried, maybe she told in her interview, but to do this story, but we tried another business. We tried to do another business that it didn't work out because I didn't know I could be a painter, really. I want to really share this with the people listening to your podcast because it wasn't, when you see movies, the hero of the movie, you know, since the first 5 minutes that he is going to win or she's going to win. But for me, I had no idea. Of course, the business we tried to start, it didn't work out because we were only looking for money. And I guess this is another belief system of mine that if you just go after money, rarely you're gonna get it or you will feel miserable getting it. I think money is more like an inevitable consequence of you providing value to the world, whatever way you want to do it. And but one day in San Miguel de Allende, there is a place called Fabrica La Aurora where we met. And I went there as you did as a tourist. And Paulina actually brought me there maybe after 2 months I was in San Miguel. She never thought I was interested in art, you know, and I didn't know there was such a place. And then when I like you did with me, the other way around I did with other artists. As a tourist, I start looking at these artists working in their gallery, their open studios, and it blew my mind because I was told that if you're a painter, you're gonna die poor. You know, all these cliches about being a painter, like Van Gogh, Modigliani, all these painters, they were broke and then they die, and only after they were dead, their painting were worth something. So this was the program that someone else, my family, society, put me in my mind that didn't allow me to see there was a possibility. And when I moved to San Miguel, I saw there was such a real possibility because I saw with my eyes people make it. And that day at Fabrica La Aurora, everything changed, and I decided I want to be a painter, just like that. And Paulina, of course, that she's too had this belief system of being a painter, being broke now. So she was like, okay, yeah, great. But she didn't say anything, of course. And I found myself again. I reborn. You know, I really found the Filippo that has been inside of me hidden, that I left maybe when I was 11, 12, when I stopped drawing, because in Italy, I totally stopped drawing. You know, if everybody told you this is not important, you should do mathematics. I learned that it's not important to be drawing. So I stopped when I was 11, 12, that I was drawing Pokemon and Dragon Ball. And then I stopped completely. When I met Paulina in Rome the first time, I did a sketch. Of the plaza we met, and I gifted her, but something so badly done, nothing fancy. But I don't know. The point is that I didn't go to art school, thankfully. Everything I learned from YouTube and Instagram. Because art schools, like acting schools, at the end they are art school. They can fuck you up. Can I say that? I'm sorry. Can we say anything? But they can really mess up with your brain deeply, especially if you're a naive. Then, as you're supposed to be naive because you're young, you're just starting, you're so in love with art, and you, oh my God, I'm gonna be attending this art school, it's gonna be amazing. And then this teacher maybe that is frustrated because he or she didn't make it as an artist, so this person has to teach. Not everybody. If you find the right mentor, it's gonna be amazing. But there are few teachers that had this call to be teaching. You know, if you find one of those, you're the luckiest. But otherwise, as it happened to me, it can be really difficult. So I rather just learn from YouTube, where nobody's gonna tell you anything. You're just acquiring knowledge, and at the same time, I don't want to sound like I don't want to be facing obstacles and be challenged, because that's important. I'm just saying that now I know how important is what you put in yourself, in your brain. I'm sorry. I don't want to take the risk. I don't want if I had a little brother, or if I can speak to my younger version of myself, I didn't want this guy to go through this path of being exposed to teachers that maybe are not that for the right reason. So I rather learn everything from the internet. Maybe I'm wrong, but that worked for me.
Yeah, I think it's kind of how I view it. It's like you have a little flame, right? Like you flame your new excitement. After so many years, you finally found yourself, right? You felt like, okay, painting. Actually, yes, and it's possible. I'm in such a good place. You know, there are other people doing it. I can do it. So I feel like if you come from this very fresh excitement, if you would have gone to a school, I feel like your fresh excitement would have been like, oh, but who do you think you are? Do you have your background? How many years have you been doing, like blah 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 blah? There could have been so many reasons that could have stopped you. So I feel like
So
it's really
many.
important when you have this little flame. And I mean, unless the flame would have been for being a doctor, probably then go to school, because you know it's a question of you need to know how to do it properly. Like,
Yeah, there are. Yeah, of course.
there's only one way, exactly. So I feel like in certain things, yes, go. But I feel like with creative pursuits, when you find out that this is yours, it's really important to keep the flame alive. And in your case, keeping the flame alive and growing it was through teaching yourself how to do it, right? Like going on YouTube, going on Instagram and teaching. So from the first day that you walked into Fabrica Aurora and saw there was other people painting and realized I can do this too, what was your journey from there? So did you start watching videos, you started teaching yourself? How did you actually went from someone who moved freshly to Mexico and realized, did you speak Spanish at that point?
No.
Okay, so you know you don't speak the language, which again in San Miguel I feel like there are a lot of people who come are from the US, but still, regardless, how did you go from there to building yourself up and knowing who you are, knowing your style? Now you have your technique, you know, that's very, very stands out and is very uniquely yours. So what was your creative journey in the creative aspect, but also in the aspect of the professional side, you know, like finding the clients, like building yourself up, being one of those people who actually moves into Fabrica Aurora and is actually there.
I try to be as helpful I can be for anybody who's listening that wants to start to be an artist. For it. And there are a few things. First of all, learn another language. For me, knowing English. Anyway, even if I don't sound like an athlete. I don't care. My accent is fine. I do mistake, but the point is to connect. You know? We are connecting. We are sharing who we really are. I don't care if I do mistakes, and people put too much attention up to those mistakes. I don't really care. And learning Spanish was crucial, and I loved it. And I'm just saying to people that move to Mexico, you're missing out if you don't speak Spanish, because as every culture, through the language, you really understand a culture, people because it's amazing. And Mexican also, they're so fun, and it's such a privilege to speak the language. And I think everybody should do that, like in any place in the world. Then another thing, San Miguel was crucial because the art market it's an artsy scene, and people come here looking for art. I always say it's different if you want to sell ice in Alaska, nobody's gonna pay for it. But if you're gonna sell the same exact ice in the desert, you're gonna be rich. You know? It's the same product. You're just changing the places, no? The people you're talking to, and it can be valued so much more. So sometimes we are stubborn to this is why it's important to move. You probably might need to move from the place you are, because if I stayed in my hometown, I would sell my painting for nothing. The same exact painting. So the crowd is really important. So you can move whatever you want, but look for the place you need, for the people you need to speak to, no? Uh, and there are sacrifices, again, moving, learning another language, leaving your country, your family, etc. So languages, the potentially moving, and then how I started. I just, because you said the flame is crucial. That this flame is the most important thing you got, and more important than technique, more important than connections, more important than anything is the flame. Any surrounding that can spoil, then lower down and put water to your flame is so bad. So avoid that. And I did the first painting, and I figured that Fabrica Aurora was very important to be involved in the scene. And I found this artist, and I spoke with him, and I was like, man, you're a painter. I want to do that. I want to be this. And he was like, you know what? I need an assistant I need someone that opened my gallery. If you want to be a painter, I'm not going to pay you. You open my gallery at least 4 days a week, and I let you use one of my easel in the back of the gallery in my studio. So you can mess around. I'm not going to teach you anything, but you can, if you have any question, of course. This guy, more than a painter, he draw a lot, and that he applies paint on the top of the drawing. So we immediately have so much, our style and our interests were so very different, which was good at the beginning. And I say yes. I didn't get paid, and I went there 7 days a week, not 4 days that he required me. And I was painting there, and my first painting, it took 3 months because it was my school, no? But the very first painting got sold before it was finished. And because I didn't go to art school, I didn't think about what I should say because of my knowledge in the art history. I just express this feeling of moving into another place. So all the things I was going through, I tried to put it there, which is the first step to do great art. And then I'll tell you why I'm saying this. And people were coming into the gallery, and they picked in the studio, and there were maybe 30 paintings of this guy. And there was only one painting of mine that I haven't finished yet. But everybody were so drawn to my paintings. And of course, that in that situation, the talent is important, because it just makes you go faster. That's it. I saw results a few months earlier than someone else without talent. But the point is, I was there 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. And they saw this painting, everybody loved it. This guy couldn't take it, and I understand, no? But then after I sold the painting through him, so I gave him a percentage and everything. He kicked me out because we got into a fight. I was so naive that I didn't see that I could be a source of, I could be annoying. My presence could be annoying for him, because I was so happy. For the first time, my flame was big again. I was just into, look at my painting now. And this guy does really dark art. So it was really different. People were drawn to my painting, and every time they came, I was hoping, don't come with me, go with him. Don't say anything about my painting. But then people liked it. And I had to leave, but I'm grateful because this is how I started. It got sold very well. I saw this price that I couldn't believe it, and I was like, wow, this was another reinforcement that you can make it. And at the time, I was living with my savings as an actor, so imagine. But Mexico is really cheap, so you can have just rice, beans, tortillas. You can go pick some fruits, and it's really cheap. And then I saw that was crucial to stay in La Aurora, and I went to the owner of La Aurora. This is crucial, Christine. because many people don't do this, and I don't know why. There was this little corridor, very like almost like a square, 4 by 4, a small corridor. And I went to the owner and I was like, "Could you rent me? I don't want to leave the place." The owners of Laura already saw my painting; they loved it, and they saw me there every day. So they got to know me, and the waiting list is 8 years around that 8 9 years, and I didn't want to wait, of course. And I said, Rico, why don't you rent me this corridor? And I converted into a studio. And of course, they told me no. For many days, they told me no, of course not. And I got back every day. I swear, you can ask Paulina every day. Paulina felt so ashamed. She was like, "Man, please don't go back. They told you no. Please, I'm feeling it. It feels weird for me. I'm feeling how you call it. I'm shame, maybe shame for you. Don't go." But because I was so sure it was a good idea, and I told them, guys, to the owner, you're gonna get a new rent. You're not getting right now. You get a new attraction because it's a corridor. I cannot close my door. So there is always a painter doing a performance live. I'm always painting in front of your people. And I was also bringing the visitors through another section of La Aurora where nobody really went, because this corridor I was speaking about was dark, nothing was there, so people weren't going that direction. So I told them, I'm giving you three positive things. You're giving me just one. I was playing poker almost like. You give me one place to stay, and I give you three. I'm bringing value before I ask for something, which is crucial also if you're doing business now. You always have to bring value before you ask for something. And they say no so many times until one day I understood that the vision was the plot. For me, it was so obvious because as an artist, maybe you paint as well now, so we can visualize stuff easier. And this older woman, she's 75 at the time. So I did a render with Photoshop, really badly done. But I took a photo of myself painting, and I cut down the silhouette and I put in the corridor. I changed the wall's color. And when she saw the photo, she was like, "Oh, wow, that's a good idea." And I was like, "Fuck, I've been telling you this for a month."
This for so many weeks. This is a good idea. Yes.
But then she visualized it. And it was another lesson, was my ego. It's always a fight against the ego, because I took for granted that she had to see what I was seeing. But always put yourself in the person in front of your shoes, because you never know. You cannot assume. No? And this is what I did. She loved it. I was very successful in that corridor. I was prolific, and many people buy my art, and people got stuck because everybody was very crowded. No, the corridor. And I saw this older woman, the owner, taking her phone and taking photo of me. It was really nice. And then because of the pandemic, this man left. He was an older artist. He got scared. He left. And instead of following the waiting list, they took me, and I got promoted to a bigger place where in the studio we met. So that's the story.
Story about when the door is closed, like find a window, find a crack somehow to get in and somehow to just share. And I think also what really beautiful about your story is that exactly we're focusing on how can you actually give value, and actually, not just as you were saying before with your acting career, like smashing your head against the wall. There's one obstacle. Let's go. Let's push. Let's suffer. Where here it was, okay, this is fun for me. This is fun for people. Why not? So is there anyone right now in the corridor? Did someone take the place after you?
Yes. This is actually a nice feeling. That corridor became a 4 months trial for emerging artists to be tested. And already 3 artists got their own studio in La Aurora, a proper studio, because they went through that corridor that I created, and they didn't even know. Maybe one of them, I tell them the story, but they didn't know that I was responsible for creating that place. So it's also nice I always say, when you put yourself in the path you were meant to be, and you're doing what you're supposed to be and you love to do, it's a responsibility to do it, because you don't not only impact positively your life, but you are impacting so many lives that maybe you don't even aware of. But it becomes a responsibility. You should be your best version, because you don't know how many lives you can actually impact, and these people can impact other people, and it becomes a movement without you even knowing.
Exactly. So by you wanting to find your own path, you actually opened the path for those other emerging artists who can also skip the waiting list of 8, 9 years to get a studio, but actually can be
And now
there.
they're making a living.
Exactly.
And maybe they
Exactly.
create a family and they will have children. You know,
And it's all because of
you
that corridor.
it's because of them,
Yes.
but that corridor was helpful. Because of them, it was helpful. You left a business career to do what you love, and you don't know this podcast how many life can impact. You might think there are billions of podcasts. Who cares? If you like doing it, eventually will reach the person it was meant to be reaching.
So that's very beautiful. You never know, just keep doing your thing if you know exactly. And there will be signs. There will be signs that you're on the right path.
Yes.
There will be confirmations and things working out. So how did you evolve yourself from there? So for now, exactly the thing that spoke to me in your gallery. First, when I was walking by, it was what I really appreciated is because you were sitting and painting while talking to people. I'm like, this looks like some art scene out of a movie where a person is like casually painting while talking to people. And then that's how I got in. And then I saw the art where, I mean, you can better explain it, but how did you from there started developing your style? So yes, of course, you started doing something that started getting traction, people were interested, but you didn't stop there. You didn't say like, okay, this works, whatever, I'm done. Like you kept evolving and growing. So how did you get to there?
Yes. Before I mentioned the first part to do the best art you can do, or to reach your maximum potential as an artist. As I said before, the first step is to express who you are. Try to just don't care about anything else and try to. But you cannot stop there. This is my point of view. There are artists that they did that their entire career and they did amazingly. Francis Bacon. I mean, they weren't really paying attention to how can impact the world. No, they were doing what they want to do. From my point of view, the way I see life, you cannot stop there. Just I want to express myself, and then if people relate to it, great. Otherwise, who cares? No. For me, the second part of the equation comes from a book. Another book that I can recommend is "Think Like a Monk" of Jay Shetty. It's a nice book that there is this sentence where he said the fulfillment comes when he said passion is for yourself, purpose is for the others. This one plus this one equal maximum potential in whatever you want to do. No? So what I'm saying is painting is for myself. Empathizing with people, which is important for the art I'm doing right now, is another passion of myself. It's something that I like to do. Through these things, how can I impact positively other people's life, my community, society, whatever. No? So to me, when you combine the two things, you have really something powerful, no? And also you feel fulfilled, no, in a way, whatever this means. And so I left the surrealism style that I start with, the figurative, the figurative. And I wonder, how can I picked a problem that I see that I would like to fix in this society I'm living in. This problem is people don't empathize as much. People don't judge each other too quickly only based by appearances. By doing just the figurative, I felt that I don't care about how people like from outside. And I was spending hours just portraying the outside. And of course, with figurative, you can also, with photography, you can get the soul. But I want to be more like really into this idea of portraying something deeper about people. And one day during the pandemic, actually, I thought, and what if we were colors inside that you could see beyond the surface, so you can see those colors. And I can't And this is just a figurative, a visual way to see it, but I cannot be superficial when I want to get those colors. I cannot just judge someone just for the way they look from outside, no? The colors of the skin, the brand you're wearing, the followers you got, no? I can't be just superficial like that, even though this society wants us to be like that, in a way, no? So I'm trying to, again, through my passion, through my what I love to do, how can I impact positively and address a problem that I don't like to for the society to have. So it just came like that one day, and now what I'm doing, I even call it a name. Why not? Essentialism. Many people invented an ism in the art, and I did as well. It's another bold statement of that to remind me that I have to believe in myself, and I believe in myself. And at the beginning, people told me it was a bad idea. Many people around me, other artists, collector that used to buy what I used to do before, told me, "Don't do it. You're doing great. Keep doing what you're doing." And I just didn't. Genuinely, I didn't care. I listened, but I didn't. I hear, but I didn't listen. No? I didn't embody what they were saying. And now everybody's like, "Oh, of course, it's great." No, but at the beginning, I had really bad feedback. So don't don't pay attention. It's difficult sometimes, especially when it's your family, when it's your people close to you. But people that other artists in Labrora, they did go to art schools, and they were limited by the vision that the art school gave to them. I'm just supposing it, but the idea is that they told me there is too much contrast is in between the figurative, the abstract, the minimalism of the background. You have to. They were when they were speaking, they sound like books,
Yeah.
like they're
It doesn't check all the check marks. Like
exactly,
this is not there.
exactly.
But it's about the feeling, and I think it's also the feeling that people get from your art. And I think it's also like a beautiful way, probably for the new people who are now interested in purchasing and having, their portraits, or in general are interested in this. I think it's like, oh, what's my inside world, right? Like, how does my inside world look like? I'm so curious. So I feel like it's not only interesting and fun for you to do, but I feel like it's also something that people feel like, I want to see, like, this is my outside world. And I also really like that you had older people, you had people from very, very different, like, visually different backgrounds, everything. And I feel like taking this and seeing how they look on the inside, I think it really gets people excited they want to be part of this, right? So it's not just a painting they look at, it's nice and goes all through the boxes that, academically maybe they are, but it excites you on a personal level. And I think that's what really matters, and that what makes a difference probably also
Thank you.
for older people.
And
But
other things, just to be, thank you for your words, but really develop this muscle of not taking feedback personal. What you just shared to me is really nice, but I don't take it personal. I don't think it's this. What you just shared speaks about who you are, not what my paintings are. No, what my art is your way of seeing, and Christine's way of seeing maybe relates to my way of seeing things, but it doesn't. No, I don't want to sound rude, but
no,
I appreciate it, but you're just saying who you are and the way you see the world, and that is not bad or wrong. But because we need to train this muscle, because if we get used to take compliments and looking for being recognized on for someone say you're doing good, we are getting used to get feedback from the outside and make them ours. So internalize this feedback. When they are good, it's nice, but if you're used to do it, then you will internalize also the bad ones. So train yourself. I'm saying to everybody, I'm speaking to myself. It's a way for me to saying these things, reaffirm these things. Train yourself, even when people give you good feedbacks, to not take it personal. So you are trained not to take it personal when someone is giving you a bad reviews, or whatever they're saying against you, because because even when they speaks about themselves. If they're saying it's your podcast is not good enough, it doesn't really, I'm not saying be close-minded, but there is a difference in between hearing and listening, embodying something and just, okay, let me see. But when people say your art sucks, your art is superficial, your art, I don't know, it doesn't really fit in the contemporary art scene. It's the way they see the world. It doesn't really speak about my art. The only person who has to say something about my art is myself at the end. The only person who really knows what it's about to do a podcast, it's you. And I sound super arrogant, but I'm just trying to be really aware and protective to my flame. And I'm the person who has the most I'm the person who has the most question. Also to the gardener that is outside Aurora, he see my art and I see him watering the plants and looking. And I'm asking, what do you think? And I'm asking, and if it was the Pope, the president, I will ask the same, what do you think? But I take it the same level. And there is this, Oprah Winfrey says many times, like, I don't care what people say to me because I stand here alone, but I also stand for 10,000. I stand here also for all the women, in her case, that went through the same thing, and I'm also speaking for them. And this is the way I feel with my art. I just don't do it for myself. This is what makes you feel empowered and not shaking every time people say something about it. Of course, it's not nice. And of course, sometimes it's nice. But we shouldn't take it personal, none of those feedbacks. I just want
For sure. I think it's a super, super important point. And I think also something that I realized, for example, when people write you happy birthday messages, usually the things they wish for, it's what they want themselves. And once I heard that, I realized it's so true. Oftentimes when they say something, it's like a reflection of their inner world anyways.
Sam,
So
always.
exactly, same with the art. So yes, like thank you, I appreciate it. But you still know your own truth. You know your own story, your own truth, and exactly you're doing it for so many other people on a similar path, on a different path, maybe who never made it to the path, but still you're doing it for more. And on that note, I wanted to ask you, what is one advice if you have for anyone who would love to do art full time or earn from their art and actually, yes, just have it as their full time thing? Because honestly, I know so many people who are doing it outside of their day jobs and they don't see a possibility for themselves because exactly they feel like they didn't go to art school, they're I don't know, too old, too young, to something. There are always millions of reasons. So if there is any advice you could give to people, what do you think it would be?
Sure. Well, everything we have been sharing so far, it's kind of an advice from my point of view. It's not the reality. It's my way of seeing things, how what it actually works. So eventually, maybe moving to a place that is better. Learning another language, it's fundamental. It's the first thing you should do. If you don't speak another language, you should learn at least 3, no? Then don't go to art school, but maybe yes, it depends. Or be really aware of not taking things personal, even if you go to an art school, no? And man, I was there. I was one of these people. So I have this idea, this formula that I told you, doing what you love, but try also to think how the purpose is for other people, not just think about you. That's the biggest thing for me. And I have 2 goals that I figure. As a person, as an artist, but as an individual, the goal is to show other people, and this is the best thing I can say to someone else. Yes, you can provide for yourself through art. Yes, you can make a living with art. Yes, you can be rich if you want this as an artist. Yes, you can be fine doing your art. It's possible. We should say it at least so many times they say the opposite. +1, no? If everybody's told you guys it's not possible, I'm saying, I have to say it so many times that it is possible because I'm the living proof and I'm not just the only one. But if the narrative that it's generally spread is the opposite, of course, if you believe that, as I did, there is a podcast that I've done, but it's sorry, not a podcast, a TEDx that it's in Spanish, but maybe you can find the subtitles. But I explained with this scheme that I got from the book I told you at the beginning, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. So you can also read the book and it's perfectly fine. But there is this scheme how the belief system impact to everything, no? And if we believe that it's not possible to make a living, eventually we will create the results that is not possible that confirms that belief system. So I just want to tell people, my sound naive, that it's super possible. We should start like that. It's possible to make a living. I'm doing it, me and other people, and be aware of maybe impacting other people's life. Those are really my core values.
I think that's so important what you tell yourself. And I'm very excited to read the book. I feel like it's going to have a lot of answers and a lot of interesting cues. But for yourself, what is your future vision? So, what is your dream? Where do you see yourself going? What would you like to have in, I don't know, in 3-5 years when you talk again, or in 20-30 years? You decide how far in the future you want to go.
Well, and other books, of course, and that told me this, but I have a classic book. It's Think and Grow Rich. No, people can. It's really famous. Napoleon Hill. People might think it's too cynic to speak about money. Money it's easy to speak about money because everybody relates to money and because it's measurable. You can measure money, so you can measure the level of success because it's not subjective. It's objective. You have 5, 10, 15. So this is why Think and Grow Rich, it's focused on money, but it actually applies for everything. Highly recommended. On YouTube, I listened to the 20th century version, the new one, because this book was written in the 70s, and he speaks about people, example of successful people that we don't really relate right now. But if you find the newest version, they change those examples to people that we can relate to, no? Famous people. So I would recommend that. And he always says about having a gold card. I'm saying this because I have my gold card in my wallet with me and I have everything written now. So I could answer really detailed about the question you just asked about everything. It will take so long. But this is so important as well to have the vision super clear. Right now, what I'm telling you is that I really want through my art, the essentialism, the style, to really remember people that not judge each other too quickly by appearances, but take the time to empathize. With the podcast you're doing this, you're taking your time to listen to other people's stories. That's the point. I do the same, and then instead of creating a podcast, I do a painting. But it's the same thing. You are taking your time to empathize with me, to listen to my story. So that's the goal. If through my art I can remember this thing to people, it's fantastic. So I see this long term because I still care about this. But I'm also open to change one day. But right now, the most important thing is to be doing my art in this way. And also, that will be another hour speaking. But I don't sell my paintings. Most of my paintings, I don't want to sell them because I want to create museum shows where people feel comfortable to be going. Even people that were told they are not enough to be in an art gallery. It's a whole other topic here, but I'm trying to break in the status quo about this bullshit that is going on sometimes with art, and I really want to open the dialogue with people. And I found museum to be the best place for my career because establish your name, but also because you are reaching so many people. And when people comes into a private gallery, they're like, "Oh, maybe it's me. I don't understand. No, maybe I'm allowed to enter." Instead, when I did my museum solo show, that I'm preparing another one in Mexico City this year, people were just fascinated with kids and everybody were there. And I was painting live in the museum. And I saw those people reacting. Painting live in the museum was another idea that the director told me is not gonna happen. And eventually I convinced them to recreate my studio. It was fantastic because I got to see all these people. I saw people getting emotional, crying in front of my painting. It was priceless. So I want to have more experience like that. The goal is to show in the US because the institutions there are massive in the art scene. And because I don't sell my paintings, I just sell few. I get just few commission that are really calculated, but in order to live from it. But then I like to be in the US showing with those institutions they had funds to pay for insurance, shipping. And doing it in Mexico is great as well. But in the US, they are more into this thing. Contemporary art, it's a big thing. So they have the means to, yeah, to have these things done. So this is what my goals.
Amazing. I can't wait to hear about the Mexico City one and also see you create your exhibition in the US. And another artist that I interviewed recently, we talked also about, this approach of gallery versus, for example, like you have your own gallery, right? That's also your studio. And I think there's so much value into that. And I mean, everyone has their own right or wrong.
I
But
want to hear that episode. I want to listen to
yes,
your episode
okay.
because it's a big thing. It's a thing. It's a big thing.
Yeah, it'll come out soon. And I think this approach of, like gallery, does that dictate, like if it's an external gallery, does it dictate your style? Like, does it dictate where you're going or no? Like, are you fully creating from a place of creating, or are you creating to sell because the gallery wants, of course, to sell? So I think there's a lot of discussion around this topic, but I find it very interesting that, you, at least in this point, you have the path where you have your own gallery and your own slash studio where you also work, and that your priority is focusing on working with museums because exactly more people can see it and there's a bigger impact. It's not focused on, just getting
The
into
elite,
to a
the
collector.
elite, they can
Exactly.
pay. Yeah.
Exactly, but it's how do people interact? Like, what do they feel? And I think, and also, I guess, also because you shared it's your value, like one of your core values, to create this, stand there for multiple people, not just yourself. And I find that very, very beautiful. So, moving on to my last questions. First, what is your word for 2025? Like, if you think of one word as like your guiding word for this year.
Empathy.
Okay, I like that. If you have a message for your younger self, what would you leave if you could talk to your younger self and say something?
I talk a lot to my younger self. It's my favorite practice when I meditate. And well, I really thank him for taking all of those difficult things that happen. There are people that got off also to worse things, but in my life was my first time here, at least that I remember. And those things, I was new to those things. They were a really tough moment, and I always thank this little Filippo to didn't break down when was so close to do it, so close, and he didn't. So I'm so grateful with him for him, for that he did it anyway.
That's amazing. And honestly, yes, the practice of like talking to younger self in meditation, it's one of the most beautiful things. Same, I also really like talking to future and younger self and just,
Yes.
one is empowering, other asking for guidance. So my last question would be, what message do you have for your future self?
What message do you have for my future self? I don't know. I mean, I always, when I do this practice, I always say like, keep learning, keep learning.
Thank you so much, Filippo. I learned a lot. I'm sure people listening to this also learned a lot from your journey, from your insights. And is there anything last you'd like to say before we wrap up?
I appreciate you. Thank you for your interest in hearing my stuff. What you're doing is important, and I wish you all the best.
And thank you also for taking your time
Sure, my pleasure.
for this. And as always, I'll leave all the information. I'll leave the TED Talk, the books, Filippo's in general information, where you can find him, where you can find me in the description. And if anything particularly stood out to you and you feel like it really impacted you, feel free to message us. I think it will, it's always good to hear who benefits and gets an insight. But also now I'm thinking, without getting it too deeply to myself, hearing it without defining your value and defining deeply who you are based on opinions. But
Yes.
anyways, thank you so much. This was another episode of the Green Tea Bakery, and I'll see you. Bye. Thank you for being here.